Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, from time to time, I get into arguments with younger guys about basketball, right? They want to tell me that LeBron James is the best ever, right? And you know, to me, LeBron is a great player, no question about it, but he's not Michael Jordan. You know, for me, it would be like comparing Mike Trout to Barry Bonds, right? They're not close. Bonds in his prime is Trout at 150% of Trout, right? Well, you know, it took me a while to realize that maybe what these young guys are saying to me is that LeBron's workmanlike game consistently outperforms Michael Jordan's game, right? I don't even agree with that. But, you know, it's clear to me that if you take both guys' A games, then there's no comparison. You know, Jordan is Usain Bolt. You know, LeBron is the guy finishing, you know, with the silver or the bronze. Right? In fact, if you take Kobe Bryant's A game and put it head-to-head with LeBron's, Kobe Bryant is more explosive than LeBron. At least Kobe when he had good knees, right? Kobe of a few years ago, right? Well, let me say this. You know, boxing's the same way. There's certain guys who, when they get it together, when they've brought their A game in the ring, the bout is over, right? You have to hope that the guy has been out partying too hard. You have to hope that the guy is not himself that night. You have to hope that you're catching the Mike Tyson who showed up against Buster Douglas and not the Mike Tyson who showed up against Michael Spinks, right? You have to hope you're getting the Riddick Bowe who showed up against Andrew Galata and not the Riddick Bowe who took out Jesse Ferguson, right? Well, let me say this. Ishe Smith has had a belt, is a very good workman-type performer, right? He's been in with some tough customers. But if both he and Vanis Martirosyan bring their A games in the ring, then their match is going to be a mismatch. Right? In terms of talent, Vanis Martirosyan is much more talented than Ishe Smith. In other words, if Vanis shows up and he's focused, and he's not giving away rounds, and he actually remembers to finish the fight, Martirosyan really is a guy who should be king. An argument can be made that he hasn't really lost the fight. Let me point out, Martirosyan has been in the ring really with some of the best. Understand, his 2 losses, think about it, were to unbeaten fighters. Demetrius Andrade, who in my opinion is a fight or 2 away from being on the pound-for-pound list, right? And Jermell Charlo. And let me point out, both of those fights are razor close. The Andrade fight's a split decision, right? The draw that Martirosyan had could have gone his way. That draw was to Erislandy Lara. Let me just tell you, in terms of talent, and I don't mean to pick on Ishe Smith, who is a former champion, right? But in terms of talent, Ishe Smith is not Lara, Andrade, or Charlo, right? There's a tape online of a sparring session. Vanis Martirosyan visiting the camp of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And I'm telling you, the talent gap is apparent on the film. I know it's a sparring session, but Martirosyan is so much faster than Chavez Jr. He looked so much better than Chavez Jr. That's the kind of sparring performance that could get a sparring partner banned from camp. Because the handlers of, you know, the house fighter might feel, hey, he's too demoralizing. Right? If you're a boxing fan, you need to know about Fanis Martirosyan. Great hand speed when he wants to have hand speed. Right? Can step into the pocket and can throw withering body shots. Now let me say this though. Too often we've seen Martirosyan's B game. Right? For some reason he doesn't have the sense of urgency. Even when he's on the verge of becoming the first man to beat Jermall Charlo. He doesn't have the sense of urgency in the later rounds that he should have. Right? There he is against Demetrius Andrade, and he just didn't finish strong. Right? But make no mistake, Ishe Smith is a guy who likes to grab you, who likes you in front of him, who'll do well against a fighter like a Carlos Molina, who's around the pocket and it's a wrestling match. Right? He needs you around where he can grab you, then touch you, then grab you, play chess with you. If Martirosyan just uses his hand speed, right? And you can't teach hand speed like this. If he just uses his hand speed and if he just uses distance, if he forces Ishe Smith to try to bridge the gap between the two fighters, to come forward and find him while he's throwing in hand speed and lateral movement. If he's too far away from Ishe Smith for Smith to actually clutch him, grab him, break tempo in the fight, slow down the fight, turn the fight into a brawl. If Martirosyan remembers to keep the fight as a boxing match, then he should win this match by several rounds. Right? Let me say, just like, and I don't care who the opponent is, right? It could even be guys who beat this personality type, the Riddick Bowe personality type. It could even be Lennox Lewis, who beat Bowe and they were amateurs, right? But you understand when you're dealing with a Bowe, when you're dealing with a Tyson, when you're dealing with a Kobe Bryant, when you're dealing with a Jordan, understand if they show up and they're ready, right? If you want to bring in track and field, if you're dealing with a Bob Beamon, the former long jump champion, if you're dealing with a Mike Powell, who broke his record, right? You better hope the guy is not on his A game, because understand his A game is as good as an elite's game, right? The Ishe Smiths have lived on, always being prepared, always being diligent. He's an overachiever, right? Just understand a guy with big-time talent who might be a bit of an underachiever. If he actually trains and shows up ready, you're in trouble. I believe Ishe Smith is in trouble in this fight. I don't care who he's trained by. I don't care who he knows. Right? Talent-wise, Martirosyan, quite frankly, should be further along than he is. Right? Put a different way, and this next statement will upset some people. Put a different way, if Martirosyan shows up focused, I personally would not hesitate to take him over Saul Alvarez. Right? I'm not too concerned about public opinion and stuff like that, because quite frankly, if you win a bet, it doesn't matter if the side you took was unpopular. Right? I'm just telling you, this guy is immensely talented. Right? This guy, if he could just keep his focus for 12 rounds, I believe he probably would have beaten Jermall Charlo. Right? So I'm taking Martirosyan over Ishe Smith. I invite everyone here to Google Martirosyan, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. sparring session. Right? Chavez Jr., former middleweight champ, much bigger name than Martirosyan. Right? Completely gets schooled in the sparring session. cannot handle Martirosyan's hand speed. Right? I hope you give this fight a look. I'm going with Martirosyan. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for stopping by.